The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the air conditioner and the occasional whisper of Dr. Conrad Murray's breath. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, lay motionless on his bed, his chest no longer rising and falling with the rhythm of life. The time was 12:21 p.m., June 25, 2009. In just a few hours, the world would learn that the man who had captivated millions with his music and dance had left this earth. But in those final moments, the scene in the bedroom of Jackson's rented home in Holmby Hills, Los Angeles, was a stark contrast to the glittering stage lights and thunderous applause that had defined his career. The medical drama that unfolded in the early hours of that morning is a tragic testament to the pressures of fame and the devastating consequences of poor medical judgment. Michael Jackson's struggle with insomnia and exhaustion was not new. For years, he had relied on a cocktail of prescription drugs to manage his sleep and anxiety. On the night of June 24, 2009, as he prepared for the upcoming This Is It concerts at London's O2 Arena, Jackson's sleeplessness reached a critical point. He had just completed a grueling rehearsal, and despite the physical and emotional toll, he was determined to perform at his best. Dr. Murray, his personal physician, was tasked with ensuring that Jackson got the rest he needed to function. What followed was a series of decisions that would ultimately lead to the end of an era. Around 1:05 a.m., Jackson joined Dr. Murray in the bedroom, a routine that had become a nightly ritual. They exchanged pleasantries, but the conversation quickly turned to Jackson's fatigue. He complained of feeling like a machine, driven by the relentless demands of his comeback. Dr. Murray, a cardiologist with no specialized training in sleep disorders or addiction, was Jackson's go-to for all his medical needs. The singer's anxiety was palpable, and he was desperate to find a way to sleep. Dr. Murray, sensing the urgency, began a series of interventions that would prove to be fatal. Jackson's bedroom was far from conducive to sleep. The lights were on and he continued to drink Red Bull, a habit that only exacerbated his insomnia. Despite this, he insisted that these distractions helped him drift off. Dr. Murray initially tried to calm Jackson with conversation, but the singer's restlessness persisted. Recognizing the need for stronger measures, Dr. Murray decided to administer a series of sedatives. The first attempt involved a 10 mg oral dose of Valium, a common sedative. However, the effects were delayed, and Jackson remained wide awake. Dr. Murray then turned to an intravenous Roman IV drip, a method that would deliver medication directly into Jackson's bloodstream. He injected 2 mg of lorazepam, a potent sedative, but even this failed to have the desired effect. Jackson's tolerance to sedatives, built up over years of drug use, meant that the standard doses were insufficient. As the night wore on, Dr. Murray tried a combination of medications, including midazolam, another strong sedative. Each attempt to sedate Jackson was met with disappointment as the singer remained awake, his anxiety growing with each passing minute. The pressure on Dr. Murray intensified as Jackson's mood shifted from desperation to agitation. The singer was convinced that his inability to sleep would jeopardize the upcoming shows, and he put the responsibility squarely on Dr. Murray's shoulders. By 5 a.m., after administering multiple doses of sedatives, Dr. Murray was running out of options. Jackson's insomnia was not just a personal struggle. It had become a matter of professional urgency. The This Is It concerts were a massive financial and artistic venture, and the inability of the star to perform could have catastrophic consequences. The stakes were high, and Dr. Murray felt the weight of the world on his shoulders. At 5:54 a.m., while trying to placate Jackson, Dr. Murray received an email on his iPhone from Bob Taylor, an insurance broker from Robertson Taylor Insurance Brokers in London. The email was a stark reminder of the broader context of Jackson's insomnia. Live, the company behind the concerts, was pushing for a $17.5 million insurance policy to cover the risk of Jackson's cancellation. The insurers were requesting access to Jackson's medical records and a new medical examination in London. Dr. Murray, who had not yet signed a formal contract with Live, found himself at the center of a high-stakes negotiation. The insurance policy was crucial, and Live was counting on Dr. Murray to secure Jackson's cooperation. Despite the urgency of the situation, Dr. Murray chose not to respond to the email immediately. Instead, he continued to focus on Jackson, who was becoming increasingly agitated. The singer's inability to sleep was not just a personal struggle, it was a threat to the entire tour. Dr. Murray, feeling the pressure, made a series of critical decisions that would have far-reaching consequences. At 7:30 a.m., Dr. Murray administered another 2 mg of midazolam, but even this failed to sedate Jackson. The singer's body was no longer responding to the sedatives, and his anxiety was reaching a fever pitch. Dr. Murray, desperate to find a solution, made a fateful decision. He decided to use propofol, a powerful anesthetic that is typically administered in a hospital setting under strict medical supervision. Propofol is not approved for use as a sleep aid, and its use outside a clinical environment is highly risky. Dr. Murray, aware of the dangers, nevertheless decided to inject Jackson with propofol. He did so without the proper monitoring equipment, without a crash cart, and without the support of a medical team. The decision was a clear violation of medical ethics, and put Jackson's life at risk. Within minutes, Jackson was unconscious, and Dr. Murray, believing he had finally succeeded, left the room to make a phone call. When Dr. Murray returned, he found Jackson unresponsive. Panicked, he called 911, but it was too late. The singer was pronounced dead at the scene. The official cause of death was listed as acute propofol intoxication, with other sedatives contributing to the lethal mix. The aftermath of Jackson's death was a media frenzy, with speculation and accusations flying from all sides. Dr. Murray was arrested and charged with involuntary manslaughter. His trial, which began in 2011, was a high-profile event that captivated the world. The prosecution argued that Dr. Murray's reckless use of propofol and other sedatives had directly led to Jackson's death. The defense, however, portrayed Dr. Murray as a dedicated physician who had been manipulated by Jackson's insistence on getting the sleep he needed. In the end, Dr. Murray was found guilty and sentenced to 4 years in prison. The case raised important questions about the responsibilities of medical professionals and the dangers of enabling drug addiction, even in the context of celebrity. Jackson's death was a tragic end to a life that had been defined by both extraordinary talent and profound personal struggles. The legacy of Michael Jackson is complex and multifaceted. His music and performances continue to inspire generations, but the circumstances of his death serve as a stark warning about the perils of fame and the importance of responsible medical care. As the world mourned the loss of a cultural icon, the events of that fateful night in June 2009 remain a haunting reminder of the human cost of ambition and the fragility of life. In the end, the story of Michael Jackson's final hours is a cautionary tale that continues to resonate, a reminder that even the brightest stars can be extinguished by the shadows of their own struggles.